right, this is Sports for Real. It's not going to be a long live, but I did want to come on and talk about what I've been hearing lately about what could possibly take place next year in the NFL. The first thing they're talking about doing is changing the playoff format. If you recall, Detroit and Minnesota were both 14-2 going into the last game of the season, and the winner of that game was going to have the top seed in the NFC playoffs, and the loser was going to drop all the way down to the fifth seed. It would be the fifth seed because not being a division winner puts you on the road, and you're going to play on the road against a division winner. Now, everybody can't be in the same division, and somebody has to come out as a division winner. And if you just happen to be one of the better teams in the league and you don't win your division, typically you're going to end up on the road. But of course, when people don't get their way, what do? They start crying. They start crying that change should be made. But when you start changing as a knee-jerk reaction to what the fans are talking about, then you're going to start to diminish your product. And I'm aware that Minnesota was 14-2. Then they lost to Detroit, and because they didn't win, they should be. Wait a minute, I don't know what I did. They should go on the road, and I don't have a problem with that. But the other part of that is the teams that win a division and have a terrible record, like an 8-9, and they get to host a playoff game. People are up in arms about that. Well, again, they won their division. It's not their fault that they didn't have a stellar record, but they did win their division. And once you make the playoffs, everybody goes back to zero anyway. So all the regular season is a way to jockey for position, get rid of the pretenders, and then you put it in a bag and go from there. Now, the Minnesota coach, to his credit, he came out and said, well, we knew the rules coming in. If you win a division, you have a home playoff game. If you don't, you're subject to go on the road. And that's what he said publicly. Probably, I don't know what he said. But Minnesota did not close the season like a 14-2 team. So they deserve to go on the road, regardless of what that mark said. Doesn't matter what your overall record, your beginning record is, and it's how you end up and how are you playing at the end of the season. And again, Minnesota was not playing like a division winner. They were playing like a wild card, which is what they were. So I don't have any problem with a 14-3 team going on the road in the playoffs, while at the same time you got a 9-7 or a 9-8 team hosting the playoff game. That's just the way it is. You knew the rules coming in. But that's just one rule change they're probably going to make in the NFL. The other one is a fallout from what we saw with the Bills and the Chiefs the other day when the Bills did that quarterback sneak and looked to me, it was clearly over the line. One guy saw it the same way I did, and the guy that had the worst angle, he said he didn't make it. So after a conversation and a call to New York, lo and behold, the call went Kansas City's way again. That changed the whole complexion of the outcome of the game. The Bills were driving, they were controlling the clock, and they were up by 1. Had they scored there, that would have put Kansas City in a dire position. But by overturning that call, it made Buffalo be on the defensive, and Kansas City was able to fend them off again. And what they want to do, a lot of people are talking about putting an electronic chip or a signal in the ball to identify the location. Well, the technology is there. It's just how do you get it inserted into the ball to make it not change a whole lot from the player's perspective. But yeah, you got pylons with cameras in them, so I don't see why you couldn't put a chip in the ball to make sure that these guys are getting this right, because these people are several yards away from the action, and most of the time they don't quite get it right. And what clouds all of that is when you have a bunch of bodies around the ball, you can't see it. They're going to go with the call that was originally made. And a lot of times teams get the short end of the stick because you can't get a clear view of the ball. And again, it comes down to popular opinion. And right now, the Chiefs clearly have the popular opinion. They're also talking about doing adding more rules reviews, or kind of like replay reviews. So when a referee makes a decision, they can be reviewed and possibly changed as the group of umpires and officials get together. They can change the call based on what they see on those replay reviews. And that was sparked by what happened with Mahomes in Houston. He goes to slide under the defenders, and he's initiating the illegal contact, but they call it on the defense. So what these replay rules would do, they would allow the officials to go back and look at things like late hits and helmet-to-helmet contact and all those different kind of things. All right. Pedro V says, hello, how you doing? You got a question, or you just hello? Appreciate you stopping in. And they're always talking about adding more games to the schedule. They want to do that, and you talk about player safety and everything, but the more you keep adding games, the more you put players at jeopardy of getting hurt. And it also creates the possibility that some of the stars going into the playoffs will get injured, and that wouldn't be good for the league. But when you think about it, the last week of the season, even though they did make the popular change where all teams end the season with division opponents so that teams can't really tank it, but you take a team like Kansas City, they didn't play all their stars the last week. So how's that going to improve if you add another game? But if they did add another game, they're talking about putting another bye week in there. So essentially, the way that the season is starting late now in September, you're going to end up playing the Super Bowl in March. That's what's going to happen. I remember when I first started watching football, everybody started Labor Day weekend, across the board, Labor Day weekend. Super Bowl was in mid-January. January 10th or 12th, it would already be over with by now. But as they started changing the rules and pushing things back and getting these TV deals, now we're into mid-February. Another 20 years, it's going to be March 1st when they have the Super Bowl. And I just think, hell, that's too much of a wait. All right. Jen Kaczynski says, I don't know what she's saying. And let's see, somebody put a vote in already. Somebody said that they should change the playoff format. I'd like to know why you think they should change the playoff format. I thought it was fine the way it was. I don't think it should be where over half the teams make it to the playoffs. That kind of diminishes the importance of the regular season if you're going to do that. I think it was extremely hard for teams to get in, and because of that, you had a better product in the playoffs. But when you start adding all these extra teams, what you have is more likelihoods of blowouts. And we saw that this year in the playoffs. It's the same thing with college football. They don't really need 12 teams because when you get to 7 or 8, the product tends to drop off. There's a big difference between 7 and 17 in college football. And you saw that in the opening rounds of the playoffs this year. If you're going to have over 10 teams, then I think you should have 16. Because all teams should play 4 games. Therefore, you don't have a position like what we had this year with Oregon sitting around for 3.5, 4 weeks before they play a game while their opponent has gotten the rest off already and they're miles ahead of you. And a team like Oregon, they started the playoffs the same way they started the regular season. I don't know what they were doing. I don't think they knew what they were doing. They kind of just found themselves. And by the time they found themselves in the playoff game, they were down 34-0. And that's no good for anybody. But rules changes can be good, but for the most part, I think they should leave things the way they are. But I would say this. If they're going to change anything, I think these guys should sign a waiver that you playing a vicious, violent game. And you get hit, you know you're going to get hit. Don't go crying talking about you should get a penalty. In essence, I'm talking about the quarterback. If the quarterback is playing the game, he should be able to get hit too. And I'll always feel that way. And I don't care how many rules changes they make to protect the quarterback. He's playing the game. and he should get hit. Another thing, there's no such thing as a defenseless receiver, because if I let him catch the ball, he runs for a touchdown, and he's dancing and jumping up and down like he did something. Well, that's fine if you did it on your own, but if the rules allow you to get free and have a start, and I don't have a chance to prevent you from getting the ball like that, then how's that so great? I just don't see it. But me, a guy like Mahomes, I told you guys before, if they're going to penalize you for breathing on the guy, you might as well get your money's worth. And me, I'll put a hit on this guy and let him know early in the game, we're not going that way. And if you keep doing it, we're going to hit you again. Eventually, they're going to have to come get you. Edwin CV, hey, Coach, how you doing? How you doing, Edwin? I think they also may keep adding games to pay all the millions that the players command. Well, the players don't command anything. I mean, their raise is in line with the salary cap. They went up 200 to 255 million salary cap last year. That was like a $30 million jump. So that allowed these quarterbacks to get all this extra money that they're getting. And just so you know, it doesn't really affect these teams, because just like the players get bonuses at the end of the season, so do these teams. They have, I think it's in March, where they all whack up the profits that they made, and each team will walk away with like $300 and something million. So they're not hurting at all. So the money that these players get is just a drop in the bucket. I tell you all the time, down here in Jacksonville, they got a beer for $20. One of those tall can beers, $20 for a beer, man. And you got people in there sucking them down like they're sodas, man. And you got to want a beer real bad to pay $20 for it. And I don't care if it's the greatest beer ever invented, it's not worth $20. And if you see one or two guys in the section getting it, what are they doing in the rest of the stadium? These guys are making money hand over fist, so they could care less about paying a guy $1 million bonus. He's the one at risk, not the owners. The owners are getting paid. I wish I knew what Gene was talking about, but I don't know. But it should be interesting, though. I like the NFL. As long as they don't make too many drastic changes, they should be fine. But I'm telling you that they are leaning toward flag football as the future of the sport. And when they do that, they're going to make it co-ed. And I don't know how exciting that's going to be, but in reality, people go watch football because they want to see somebody get hit. But they're trying to legislate all the contact out of the game. And if you do that, then you don't have football anymore. The sad thing about it, it trickles down to lower levels. I can understand college now. They're going to start getting ticky-tack-too now that you have to pay all the players all this money, which they should have been getting money anyway. It's been highway robbery the way they've been taking money over from college people all these years. And they claim that they're hurt. They're not hurt at all. These schools have billions of dollars in their endowments, and they're not hurt either, just like these NFL owners. They're just fattening their pockets, man. Everyone says the average Joe can't afford to go to an NFL game anymore. You're right. Most of those suites and things are bought up by corporations. And what they do, they give out tickets to their employees throughout the season. Or they'll have some kind of business meeting in there to try to seal up some more money deals. So you're right. The average person can't go. I got around that last year. I did the security thing, the colored jerseys. I just wanted to see what that was like. But I'm supposed to be in there looking at fans, but you got the jumbotrons. You can't look behind you to look at the game. But hell, I'm getting paid to watch the game, man. It's essentially what that was, So there's creative ways to get in the stadium and watch the game if that's what you want to do. But no, I had talked to a guy that went to the first Jaguar game, and he said he took his wife, and between the two of them, they spent $400 at one game. That includes the tickets, the parking, and concessions. And I think that's rather much for two people to go to a football game. So if they spent that kind of money, what did the guy do with his two kids and his wife? He might spend $1,000, man. So like I say again, these owners are not hurting at all. They're making money hand over fist, and that's just the way it is, man. But again, like I said, this wasn't intent to be a long video. I started kind of late here, and I got to get off the horn in about 2 minutes. But I'm keeping my eye on these rule changes because they're going to be important to the game. They make too many drastic changes, then they're going to continue to turn fans off. And right now, the fans are upset because they feel like all the rules are slanted toward Mahomes. He seems to get a major call in every game. And that 4th and 1 call where Josh Allen did that quarterback sneak, it appeared to me that they had the first down, but the one guy spotted it, yes. The other one said no, but the one that had the clearest view said it was a first down. So they go to the review booth, and lo and behold, they overturn it. So that killed Buffalo's momentum, and it gave Kansas City a chance to get in a position to win the game, and they did. When they did have the ball, you can't blame the referees on that because they did convert when they had to convert, throwing it out to the back in the backfield, hitting it downfield. They got the heart of a champion now. You're going to have to beat Kansas City, but we like to see how they do when you don't get calls, when you have conversions that were clear that are reversed against other teams. So when people start to feel like everything's going one way, then they're going to turn off, kind of like what you started to see with New England. But now that New England's gone, you don't see all those New England car tags talking about I've been a Patriots fan all my life when we know you haven't. And it's back to reality here. And it's going to be not long before Kansas City falls back down to earth too. So don't sweat it. But anyway, wherever you guys are in the world, I hope you all have a great day. I got to go to work, man. But I'll be back on in the morning. If not, possibly I'll be back on later on. Before I check out, let's see what this poll says. It says, should the NFL playoff change? And a lot of people says yes. Again, Minnesota, by their record, maybe they should have had a home game, but you didn't deserve to have a home game because you lost. And that's just the way it goes. So I'm going to leave you with that. So you guys have a great day, and I catch you guys on the other side. In the meanwhile, I got to go to work, so I'm out. Peace.